Hello everybody, my name is Benjamin Bloom and this is day number 2 of my top 5 series. If you missed yesterday, we looked at the top 5 team performances I saw in the Championship last season. And today we are looking at my top 5 favourite players to watch. I will repeat that, my top 5 favourite players to watch. So these are the players that I enjoyed watching the most. I'm not talking about output. I'm not talking about statistics. You can find all the statistics in the world you want. These were the ones that when I was sitting in the stadium, I enjoyed watching play. So last season, I watched 78 games of football and only 35 of them, I think, involved my team, Ipswich. So what I'm saying is, as a neutral, I watched 43 games of football last year. So when you're thinking about commenting on this, remember, I've watched as a neutral where most supporters don't. So I like to think I have a nice objective view here. But remember, this is my opinion and you too are entitled to your opinion. But remember, if your opinion is different to somebody else's, you don't need to be mean to them or rude to them. And you don't have to call me a fraud or a joke if I don't include your favourite player from the team that you support, because that is what tends to happen on these videos. So hopefully we can try and be nice and objective in the comments. Really eager to know your guys' 5 favourite players to watch, which will be completely personal to you, and I will not disagree with. So that being said, I invite your comments, and here are my top 5 favourite players to watch last season. Number 5. For Brentford, an inverted winger, Mr. Said Ben Rama. You'll see in my video that I'm more the goal creators and the chance creators. They're my favourite football players. If you remember Liverpool 1987-88, okay, Ian Rush scored all the goals, but it was always Peter Beardsley and John Barnes that were the ones that actually got you off your seat. So yes, there may be players that score a lot of goals, but I like the ones that provide, and Said Ben Rama provided absolutely brilliantly for Brentford. I believe this was his first full season there at the club, and we know that Brentford have just had a conveyor belt of brilliant signings from abroad that have done really well and then generally go off to be sold for a big profit. And I think Ben Rama is likely to be the next one of those. Be interesting to see out of Mopai and Ben Rama which one the first one out the door is. I think Ben Rama in the end may even be worth more. So we were ships passing in the night for the start of the season. I did see him come on against Sheffield Wednesday, and then I watched from afar as he dribbled and assisted. And Brentford, just a perfect team for an inverted winger to get up and support the forward and have the team up supporting him as well and receiving balls in dangerous positions for him to do his dangerous work. And with Ben Rama, close control, dribbling, able to score a goal himself, but seemingly more interested in setting up Mopai and Watkins and Sawyers and the like for goal scoring chances themselves. By the time we got to me going to see Ipswich play at Brentford, I finally got to see Ben Rama put in a good performance, and he was excellent. This was a game where Brentford did massacre Ipswich for 45 minutes, got 2-0 up. Ben Rama obviously setting up both of the goals, and like I say, could have had a shot for the second assist, but wanted to pull it across for, I think it was Watkins, wasn't it, to pop that one in. So I got to see Ben Rama in pretty much full flight, and then Brentford eased off in the second half, and he looked like a really, really good player. So one or two things will happen. Now we'll either get a delightful season from Ben Rama of, I think he was double figures for goals and assists this season, so we're likely to get the same, probably more, next season as he develops even further and the team develops. Will Brentford actually finally have a season where they meet their XG and finish up in the top 6 again, or expect him to go off to the Premier League or a parachute payment resourced Championship team? But my number 5, Said Ben Rama. My number 4, probably the furthest player back. I don't have any defenders I hate to say. Sorry, Reece James, Max Aarons, etc. Pontus Jansson. I've gone for Ollie Norwood at number 4, deep line playmaker for Sheffield United. Ultimately, a key part of the team that got promoted in second place, much to most people's surprise. And I noticed at the end of the season with Sheffield United, there was a big struggle to actually identify the player of the year. I think David McGoldrick got it, but it could have been Jack O'Connell. It could have been John Fleck. It could have been David McGoldrick. It could have been Billy Sharp. And it could have been Ollie Norwood. A very much a team, Sheffield United. But this guy sat in that deep line playmaking position really, I think I'd certainly say for the first 60% of the season was the man at Sheffield United. Again, I know Billy Sharp gets the goals, but just my opinion as a fan, my preference, I prefer the players further back doing the creating, giving those chances for people like Sharp. We do have some very good deep line playmakers in the league, Leitner, Phillips, Hurahan, Woods. This guy was my favourite. And it's no knock on Leitner and Phillips, but they both played in teams where they were more encouraged to play short balls out to the side and keep things ticking over, and they were more of a cog in a machine. Whereas I think with Norwood, he was given a bit more licence by Chris Wilder to play those Steven Gerrard passes, switch the play, and frankly some very piss-takey passes from Norwood. So he's got promoted before. He was at Fulham last year, but let's be honest, the midfield was Kearney, McDonald and Johansson. He wasn't actually an important part. And I think similar really with Bryce. I think he was at Huddersfield as well. I think he's gone up year after year, Norwood. But finally, he's in a team here where he's a really, really important part of it. Made them tick. He was always the out ball, often centre-backs up ahead of him, but you saw teams starting to actually mark a deep line midfielder, and that happened with Norwood. The range of passing was beautiful. I remember in the game I saw against West Brom, one first time half volley, right foot slice, switch of play, just, absolute stunning stuff. Short, long, high, low, all sorts. Set plays, I don't know how many assists he got from set plays. Brilliant crosser. How many times did we see him just edge over to the right, deep central midfield position, wing backs ahead of him, they knock the ball back to him and he delivers a beautiful outswing across with the right foot. A bit of a specialty there from Norwood. And also, I don't know how many goals he got, but I saw an absolute beaut down at Brentford. Sheffield United won 3-2. It was pouring down with rain. He gets the ball knocked to him and he just sweeps it, curls it into the top corner from outside the box. Really enjoyed watching Ollie Norwood this season. He is my number 4. Slightly further up the pitch, my number 3, Pablo Hernandez. People who watch the channel are fed up of me raving about Pablo, so I won't go super long. Ultimately, he didn't get Leeds up, and that would have been the story if he had have done it, because for a lot of the season, I think he was carrying the creative burden of that whole team on his shoulders. I know if you watched my video yesterday, I mentioned that Jack Clarke balanced him up in that game against Derby, but that was all too fleeting, and often it was, can we attack quickly? Can we get Hernandez on the ball and him creating? And his numbers for key passes, goals and assists, all absolutely brilliant. He would be higher in my list, but, and this, I don't really think this is his fault, but he went from extraordinarily good to just good, normal Pablo Hernandez towards the end of the season. And so that kind of coincided with Leeds' bad run towards the end there. And it was a little bit like, if Hernandez doesn't do the creating, Leeds aren't really going to score. And this was a criticism of Leeds through the season, not taking their chances. But I don't think Pablo can be involved in that. Aesthetically, beautiful player, great balance, the way he receives the ball, the angles he makes with his body when he passes the ball. And I think the signature sight of him in his brilliant run, basically up until the last international break of the season, the signature thing was him calling for the ball in space in a half position, just in off the right hand side, receiving it from Phillips or Ayling or whoever turning and just looking ahead, and you knew what was going to happen, a switch of play, a ball in behind, an overlapping. You knew he was going to find the pass. Brilliant passer, brilliant set play taker. I think he's just turned 34, so we should have another good year or two out of Pablo Hernandez, but he is number 3 in my top 5 players to watch this season. We haven't had a Norwich player yet, so my number 2 is going to come from Norwich, and I have a bit of a weird relationship with this player because I think I saw Norwich 8 times last season, and it seemed like every time I went, he scored or he did something. I'm not talking about Teemu Pukki. Again, Teemu Pukki falls into that Ian Rush type player. Yes, okay, vitally important, but he's not the one I actually enjoy watching. It's the Beardsley or the Barnes. So I've put my number 2 as Mario Vrancic, a Bosnian midfielder. I believe he only started 14 games for Norwich this season. Such was their embarrassment of riches, really, in centre midfield with Tetty, Leitner, McLean and Tribal all there as well. And as Norwich ran into the end of the season, it was very much McLean and Tribal, and Leitner couldn't even get in the team. And Leitner, I think, is actually probably better player than all of those guys, but Farker always went loyally with what had served him, and he was served very, very well at times by Mario Vrancic, who's what I would call a term a luxury player. Great fun guy, very technically very good, will try killer balls, will try long range shots, free kicks, maybe didn't quite offer the sturdiness that some of those other centre mids I've mentioned, and maybe that's why his starting stats weren't quite as good as some of those other players. But his output was incredible in terms of goals, assists, key passes, etc. Absolute baller of a football player, Vrancic. And I just had to make a note of this. So these are the times I saw Vrancic play this season for Norwich. So Reading away, he plays 22 minutes, comes on and scores the winner. Birmingham at home, he scores a goal from outside the box, plays all 90 in that. Leeds away, scores 2, including bending a free kick in to the top corner after 5 minutes. Against Ipswich, he sets up the first goal and then is substituted after half time. Swansea, he played 6 minutes at the end, whoop-de-doo. Wigan away, he plays the last 14 minutes and he's part of a triple substitution that changes the game. He actually plays the deepest of all the midfield then. Sheffield Wednesday comes on for the last 10 minutes and bangs another free kick in the top corner in the 96th minute. So basically, I saw Mario Vrancic play 232 minutes and he scored 5 goals and got 1 assist. So if you add that up, he either scored or assisted a goal every 38 minutes whilst I was watching Norwich. So you can understand why Vrancic was just a bit of a force of nature for me. Yes, Hernandez was fun. Yes, Buendia was fun. But Vrancic, from what I saw, was top Norwich guy for me. Which brings me up to my number 1. And everybody's sharpening their fingers to bury me in the comments. But remember, this is my damn opinion. My favourite player to watch in the Championship. Arise, Sir Jack Grealish. And you're probably not surprised if you watch my channel. Big fan of Jack Grealish. And look, I know this guy splits opinion. Like all flamboyant English creative players seem to, Sterling, Rooney, Gascoigne, drop in a name there. English fans don't seem to like confident, flamboyant English creative players. And here is an absolutely brilliant player. And this guy is just absolute box office. And the people who hate Grealish don't realise how they play into the narrative. They don't know why they're booing him when they turn up for games. They boo him, he thrives on it, he draws in all the attention, and then either he does something or somebody else scores while everybody's watching him. I don't necessarily get the hatred. His close control is miraculous. You can't, I'm just trying to think of someone better. You need to go into the Premier League to find a player with better close control. And in terms of my entertainment as a watching fan, just when he receives the ball and it kind of stops, all eyes on him and the defenders kind of terrified. They don't know what to do. People point to goals and assists with Grealish. 6 goals, 7 assists this season. Yeah, okay, Hernandez, Ben Rama, a lot more. But what I would say is he is easily the most marked player in the league. I suspect every manager that came up against Grealish last season had somebody looking after him. Passing, he's tied 3rd for key passes as well. So the goals and assists thing, yeah, maybe. But in terms of chance creation there that maybe aren't taken, the ones that, a key pass, sometimes you can play the perfect pass and the forward can miss and you don't get an assist. So sometimes those stats can be a little bit deceptive. Maybe look at some other metrics if you are judging Grealish just on goals and assists. But influence on the team, absolutely massive. And influence on games, just swarms of players gravitate around this guy wherever he goes. And Dean Smith did allow him to move off that central midfield axis. Brilliant partnership with John McGinn. The criticism I hear a lot about Grealish is that he is, quote, a diver. Now, I do and I don't buy this. I took a look before doing the video. Grealish is by miles the most fouled player in the league. And probably the people who are anti-Grealish say, yeah, Ben, that's because he's a diver. Well, Grealish gets fouled 4.7 times per game. So even if 40% of his fouls were him diving, the next nearest is 2.7 per game. So he could dive 40% of the times he's fouled and would still be the most fouled player in the league. So something here is not adding up. This guy is not getting fouled 4 to 5 times. I think it's 5 times every away game as well, because he's a diver. I think he's quite clever sometimes. His close control is that good. And he doesn't rely on knocking it past a player and running. So defenders can get close to him. And he's just very, very good at nicking it away from him, drawing a foul. Okay, sometimes he may generate the foul by going down, but it's still a foul. I class a diver as somebody where there's no contact whatsoever and they go down and they win a foul that wasn't even a foul. Someone like Grealish, yeah, okay, he can be annoying if you're watching not as a neutral. And remember, for those of you trying to criticise, I've watched 40 games as a neutral. How many of you watched is what I'd say. Have you watched Grealish as a neutral? Because I know if you're not a neutral and he's playing against your team, yeah, I understand. Boo, 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 hiss, hiss, hiss. But as a neutral, I watch and I see people, oh, he dived, he went down, he dived. And I'm like, it was a foul. Yeah, he went down to show the referee that it was a foul. So I'd like to see some videos of Grealish going down with no contact, because I do think the diving thing is a bit of a myth. And to be nearly double the amount of fouls ahead of Dan James, who's the second most fouled player in the league. Well, really? Is that all as a result of diving? Sounds a little bit far-fetched to me. But there you go. That is my opinion, which I am entitled to. The player I enjoyed, the most box office, most watchable, can't take your eyes off player, was Jack Grealish. And of course, we've got to go back as well to that game against Birmingham where someone comes on, physically assaults him, and literally that was taught in schools the next day on Newsround to kids in England. Look, this guy, someone was violent towards him. He didn't react. He kept playing the game and went up the other end and scored the winning goal later in the match. That was taught to children as a good example of what to do. So, yeah, absolute box office player. Jack Grealish, was my most, how did I word this video, favourite player to watch this season. Obviously, this is a huge matter of opinion, and you are entitled to your opinion too. I wouldn't bother spending a lot of time in the comments having a go at my opinion, because I'd rather hear your opinion. There's no point getting me to justify mine, because I've just done 20 minutes of justifying my opinion. So if you do want to get involved in the comments, sometimes these can go really wrong on opinion videos. People can get a little bit emotional and a little bit silly. So if you do want to get involved in the comments, which I would love you to, sorry if I'm sounding a bit patronising about this now, but please don't have a go at my justification. Pop your own top 5 favourite players to watch, and I'd be really interested to see which names come up and whatnot. Hit the subscribe button. There'll be another couple of these videos coming up by the end of the week. As I say, get involved in the comments. More interested in hearing who your favourite players are rather than a dissection of my reasoning for my favourite players. But you're entitled to do that. It's a free country, isn't it? Believe in free speech. Follow me on Twitter at Benjamin Bloom. Hit the bell for notifications for new videos, and also in the comments any ideas for other top fives that I can do, and if I like them I will do them. Lovely stuff. Again, like I said yesterday, I'm off to hide before the comments come in, as these opinion videos tend to get the emotions going a little bit. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow for another one.